Have you ever checked the mirror in a motel room? I mean, really checked it. Put your fingernail against the glass. If there is a gap between your finger and the reflection, you are safe. It's a real mirror. But if your finger touches the reflection directly, that means there is no glass coating. That means it's a two-way mirror. And someone is standing on the other side, in the dark, watching you undress. My name is Alex. I work the night shift at the Paradise Motel. And I know for a fact that none of our mirrors have a gap. They call it the Paradise Motel, but it's closer to purgatory. We are located on Route 9, 10 miles from the nearest town, sandwiched between a dying forest and a highway that truckers only use to avoid way stations. The neon sign out front is broken. The P and the S died years ago. So at night, it just spells Iradi-E. It's cheap, it's dirty, and it smells like bleach and desperation. People don't come here for a vacation. They come here to hide, to cheat, or to do things they don't want God to see. I spend 8 hours a night inside the fishbowl. That's what we call the reception booth. It's a 6x6 box surrounded by bulletproof glass 2 inches thick. The door locks from the inside with 3 deadbolts. Mr. Miller, the owner, told me, "Once you clock in, you are in a submarine. Kid, don't open the hatch unless the building is on fire. Inside here, I have a coffee maker, a stack of textbooks, and a silent alarm button under the desk. Outside the glass is the zoo. Junkies, pimps, runaways. I watch them like I'm watching TV. But lately, I feel like the glass isn't there to keep them out. It's to keep me in." You might ask, why do I work here? The answer is simple: tuition. I'm a med student. My loans are piling up faster than I can pay them. This place pays double the minimum wage. Plus, it's cash under the table. Mr. Miller likes hiring students. He says we are obedient and too focused on our books to notice the blood on the sheets. I thought he was joking when he said that. I needed the money. I told myself I could study during the quiet hours. But there are no quiet hours here. The silence at the Paradise Motel is just a heavy pause before a scream. Mr. Miller is rarely here at night. He comes in at 6 a.m. to relieve me. He's a small man, skin like dried leather, always smelling of menthol cigarettes and Old Spice cologne. He never looks me in the eye. He looks at my hands, at my neck, like he's assessing livestock. He has a ring of keys on his belt that jingles when he walks. Hundreds of keys. Keys to the rooms. Keys to the supply closet. And keys to doors I haven't found yet. On my first night, he gave me the orientation. He didn't show me how to use the computer or the washing machine. He sat me down and gave me the rules. Listen closely. Alex, he wheezed. If you follow these, you live. If you don't, I'll have to hire another student. Rule number 1. Cash is king. And king doesn't have a name. If a guest pays with a credit card, you take their ID. Miller said, you scan it, you log it, but he leaned in closer. If they pay with cash, you don't ask for ID. You don't ask for a name. You don't even look at their license plate. Just give them a key and look away. I asked him, isn't that illegal? He laughed. It was a dry, hacking sound. Illegal is a word for poor people. Alex, we provide a service. Privacy. Some people pay extra for the privilege of not existing for a night. Rule number 2. Room 9 is always booked. Even when the parking lot is empty. Even when the board shows vacancies. Room 9, the one at the very end of the row, right next to the woods, is explicitly reserved. Who stays there? I asked. A VIP. Miller said. He likes the quiet. He pointed to the key rack. The key for room 9 wasn't there. He has his own key. You never go in there. You never send housekeeping in there. You pretend that room doesn't exist. Sometimes, when the wind blows from the woods, I can smell room 9. It doesn't smell like a VIP suite. It smells like bleach and copper. Rule number 3. The phone test. Sometimes, Miller said, checking his watch, the internal phone will ring. It might be room 3, or room 12, or even room 9. When you pick up, nobody will speak. You will just hear breathing. Heavy, wet breathing, like someone who just ran a marathon. Or someone who is drowning. Do not hang up, Miller warned me, his eyes wide. If you hang up, they will get angry. Just listen. Wait for them to hang up first. Why? I whispered. Because they need to know you are listening. They need an audience. I've been working here for 3 months now. I've learned to blend into the furniture. I've seen husbands meeting women who aren't their wives. I've seen shaking junkies paying in crumpled 1s and 5s. I've seen a girl running barefoot across the parking lot crying, only to be dragged back into a room by a man twice her size. I wanted to call the cops. I reached for the phone. But then I remembered the cash in the register. I remembered Miller's warning. And I remembered that the police in this county, they drink coffee with Miller every Tuesday morning. So I did nothing. I turned the page of my textbook. I am complicit. And that's exactly what they want. Tonight was supposed to be a slow night. The rain was washing the world clean. It was 2:13 a.m. I was studying anatomy. Then, headlights swept across the lobby, blinding me for a second. A car pulled in, not a beat-up truck or a rusted sedan. It was a black Lincoln Town car. Pristine. Polished. It stopped right in front of the office. The engine cut off. No one got out for a long time. Then, the driver's door opened. A man stepped out into the rain. He didn't run for cover. He walked slowly towards my glass cage. He was wearing a suit, and his shoes were covered in red mud. The electronic bell announced his entry. He shook off his umbrella. Water sprayed onto the dirty linoleum floor. He walked up to the glass. Up close. He looked normal. Too normal. Generic haircut. Generic suit. He looked like an accountant or a salesman. But his eyes were wrong. They were unblinking. Like a shark. He didn't look at the price board. He didn't look at the map. He slid a hand under the transaction drawer. The smell hit me through the vents. It wasn't just rain. It was that metallic tang again. Copper. And underneath that, a faint scent of formaldehyde. "Good evening," he said. His voice was smooth, cultured, no accent. It was the kind of voice you'd trust immediately. Which made it terrifying. "I believe you have a reservation for me. The name is Smith." Smith. Of course it was Smith. I checked the computer. I don't see a reservation. "Sir." He smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "Check the manual log. Under the counter." My heart skipped a beat. How did he know about the manual log? I reached under the desk and pulled out the dusty red binder. There was only one entry for tonight. Written in Miller's handwriting. Guest. Mr. Smith. Room 9. Room 9. I stammered. "That will be 2 weeks up front?" He didn't ask the price. He just reached into his jacket. He pulled out a thick envelope. He counted out 10 $100 bills and slid them through the slot. I picked them up. They were cold. And they were damp. Not wet from the rain. They felt slightly sticky. On the corner of one bill, there was a reddish-brown smear. I looked at it. Then I looked at him. He was watching my hands. Rule number 1. Just give them a key and look away. I swallowed hard and put the money in the drawer. I didn't scan them. I turned to the key rack. Slot number 9 was empty. Just like Miller said. I don't have the key here. "Sir," I said, panic rising. Mr. Smith reached into his pocket again. He pulled out a silver key. It looked old, much older than our standard keys. "It's all right, Alex," he said. "I have my own." He knew my name. I wasn't wearing a name tag. He tapped the glass with his knuckle. Tap, tap. "Just activate the power for the room. Please." I flipped the breaker switch for room 9. "Thank you," he said. "I value my privacy. Please ensure no housekeeping." Then he turned and walked out into the rain. As the door closed, I collapsed back into my chair. My hands were shaking. I looked at the cash drawer. I wanted to wash my hands with bleach. Outside, the black Lincoln moved slowly. It didn't go to a parking spot. It drove around the back of the building. Towards the woods. Towards room 9. I watched the taillights fade into the darkness. He was gone. Just a weird guest. Just a VIP. I tried to convince myself. I opened my anatomy book again. But the words blurred. I kept thinking about the mud on his shoes. It was red clay. The only place with red clay around here is the old cemetery deep in the forest. 20 minutes passed. I couldn't focus. I kept looking at the surveillance monitor. We have cameras covering the parking lot and the exterior walkways. But room 9 is in a blind spot. Miller made sure of that. However, camera 4 captures the edge of the walkway leading to it. I watched the screen. At 2:40 a.m., the lights in room 9 turned on. A yellow rectangle of light spilled out onto the wet pavement. Then, the curtains were drawn tight. Blackout curtains. The light vanished. It was like the room had been swallowed by the night again. Most guests go to sleep after checking in. Or they watch TV. Mr. Smith went back to his car. I saw him on camera 4. He popped the trunk of the Lincoln. He looked around. Left. Right. Up at the camera. I ducked instinctively. Even though I knew he couldn't see me through the lens. He wasn't taking out a suitcase. He was taking out rolls of plastic sheeting. Like painters use. And a large, red toolbox. Why would a guest need to renovate a motel room at 3 a.m.? He went back into the room. 5 minutes later, he came out again. This time, he pulled something large out of the trunk. A black garbage bag. The heavy-duty kind. Contractor bags. It was long. About 5 feet long. He didn't lift it. He dragged it. It scraped across the asphalt. It looked heavy. Dead weight. He struggled to get it over the threshold of room 9. I zoomed in on the monitor. The resolution was grainy. But the way the bag bent in the middle, it looked like knees. It looked like a person folded in half. My stomach turned. It's just laundry, I told myself. Or equipment. Golf clubs. But then he went back to the trunk. He pulled out a second bag. Same size. Same shape. Same heavy drag across the pavement. 2 bags. Who travels with 2 body-sized bags of trash? He kicked the door of room 9 shut behind him. The parking lot was empty again. Just the rain washing away the drag marks. I sat there for an hour, staring at the closed door of room 9. I needed to know. I grabbed my flashlight. I told myself I was just doing a perimeter check. I unlocked the booth and stepped out into the cold rain. I walked towards the end of the walkway. I stopped 10 feet away from his car. I shined my light on the ground where he had dragged the bags. The rain had washed most of it away. But caught in a crack in the asphalt was something small. A fake fingernail. Painted pink. with a rhinestone on it. It was torn off at the root. I looked at room 9. I could hear a sound coming from inside. Not voices. The sound of a power saw. I ran back to the booth and locked all 3 bolts. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped my flashlight. That sound, the power saw. It only lasted for a few seconds. Then silence. I put the fake fingernail on the desk. Under the neon light, the rhinestone sparkled innocently. But I knew what it meant. That nail was ripped off in a struggle. I tried to call the police. I picked up the landline. No dial tone. The storm must have knocked out the lines. Or someone cut them. I was trapped in a glass box with a butcher 50 yards away. I tried to read my book. Anatomy of the Human Heart. Ironic. My elbow hit my pen. It rolled off the desk and bounced underneath, into the mess of wires. I groaned and crawled under the desk to get it. It was dusty down there. Smelled like old carpet. I grabbed the pen, but my hand brushed against the back panel of the desk. It felt loose. I pushed it. It didn't feel like solid wood. It felt like a door. Curiosity is a dangerous thing. I pulled the panel. It popped off with a magnetic click. Hidden behind it wasn't the wall. It was a screen. An old, dusty CRT monitor built right into the desk structure. I found a small toggle switch and flipped it. The screen hummed to life. Static at first, then a clear, black and white image. It was a view of a room. I recognized the bedspread, the ugly painting on the wall. It was room 5. There was a couple in there, sleeping. The angle was high up, looking down from the wall opposite the bed, right where the mirror hangs. Mr. Miller, that sick old man. He wasn't just cheap. He was a predator. He had wired every room. He had been watching guests for years. And I had been sitting on top of his perversion the whole time. There was a dial next to the screen, labeled 1 through 12. I shouldn't look. It's illegal. It's wrong. But I couldn't look away. I turned the dial. Click. Room 3. Empty. Unmade bed. Click. Room 6. A trucker eating a sandwich in his underwear. Watching TV. It felt powerful. Godlike. Seeing people when they think they are alone. I understood why Miller did it. It's addictive. But then my hand stopped on the dial. Number 9. The VIP room. Miller said, "You pretend that room doesn't exist." But if Miller wired every room, did he wire the room of his special guest, too? My finger hovered over the dial. If I turn it, there is no going back. If I see something, I become a witness. I looked at the fake fingernail on the desk. The girl who lost this, she might be in there. Maybe she is still alive. Maybe I can help her. Or maybe I will see Mr. Smith doing something that will haunt me until I die. I took a deep breath. I turned the dial to 9. The static hissed loudly, then cleared. The image flickered onto the screen, and my blood turned to ice. The room didn't look like a motel room anymore. It looked like a slaughterhouse designed by an architect. The twin beds were pushed against the wall, stacked on top of each other to make space. The carpet was completely covered in thick, clear plastic sheeting. It went up the walls too, taped carefully at the seams. In the center of the room, under the ceiling light, was a portable metal table. Mr. Smith was standing there. He had taken off his jacket. His sleeves were rolled up. He was arranging things on a side tray. Silver things. Shiny things. I squinted at the grainy screen. The tools. They weren't from a hardware store. Bone saws. Scalpels. Retractors. A heavy bone mallet. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was surgery. Or butchery. He laid them out in size order. Obsessive. Precise. He picked up a scalpel and held it up to the light. He tested the edge against his thumb. He nodded, satisfied. This man has done this before. Probably in room 9. Probably dozens of times. And I handed him the key. Smith walked to the corner of the room. He began to undress. He folded his trousers perfectly along the crease. He placed his shirt on a hanger. Then, he put on a white jumpsuit. Like a painter. Or a hazmat worker. He pulled on rubber boots. Then a plastic apron. Finally, he pulled a clear plastic mask over his face. Now, he looked like a monster. Faceless. Sterile. He turned back to the center of the room. Towards the black bag he had dragged in earlier. It was sitting on the metal table. He approached the bag. It was lumpy, misshapen. He picked up a large pair of scissors. He didn't rip the bag open. He cut it carefully down the middle, like he was unwrapping a delicate gift. I held my breath. I wanted to look away, but I was paralyzed. Please be clothes. I prayed. Please be drugs. Please be anything but a body. He peeled back the black plastic. Pale skin flashed on the black and white screen. An arm, a shoulder, hair, long hair. It was a woman. She was lying face down, naked, still. Smith put the scissors down and picked up a sponge. He started to clean her back. And then, she moved. Just a twitch. Her hand clenched into a fist. She wasn't dead. She was paralyzed. Probably drugged. She could feel everything. She just couldn't scream. Smith noticed the movement. He paused. He leaned down close to her ear. I couldn't hear what he said, but I saw him pat her head gently. Like you comfort a dog before you put it down. She is alive. And he is going to start cutting. The scalpel was inches from her skin. I couldn't run there in time. I had no gun, so I did the only thing I could think of. I grabbed the motel phone and dialed room 9. On the screen, the phone next to the bed rang. Ring, ring. Smith froze. The scalpel hovered. He turned his head slowly towards the phone. He looked annoyed, like a surgeon interrupted during a delicate procedure. He put the scalpel down. He walked over to the nightstand and picked up the receiver. He didn't speak. He just breathed. "Front desk here," I said, my voice trembling. "Mr. Smith?" Silence on the line. Just that wet breathing Miller warned me about. "Sir, we have a noise complaint." I lied. "From the room next door. They say there's loud banging." It was a stupid lie. The motel was almost empty. Smith chuckled. A low, distorted sound. "There is no one next door." "Alex," he said softly. "Room 8 is vacant. Room 10 is storage." He knew the layout better than I did. "Why are you lying to me? Alex? Are you lonely?" "I'm coming down there," I threatened. "I'm calling the police." "No, you won't," Smith said, "because you haven't looked away from the screen yet." My blood froze. On the monitor, I saw Smith turn away from the phone. He looked up, not at the ceiling. He looked straight at the mirror on the wall. Straight into the hidden camera lens. Straight at me. He walked towards the camera. His face got larger and larger on the screen until his plastic mask filled the frame. He raised a gloved hand and touched the glass. "I see you, little fish," he whispered into the phone. "Swimming in your little glass bowl." On the screen, Smith pulled back his fist and smashed the mirror. Crash! The screen went static. Just gray snow and white noise. I dropped the phone. He knows. He knows I saw the girl. He knows I saw the tools. And he knows I'm alone. I looked out the window of my booth towards room 9. The light under the curtains went out. He cut the power to the room. Now, I can't see him, but he knows exactly where I am. I panicked. I checked the locks on the booth door. 3 dead bolts. Solid steel. The glass is bulletproof. He can't break in. I am safe in here. I just need to wait until morning. Or until Miller comes back. I grabbed a pair of scissors from the drawer. My only weapon. I turned off the lights inside the booth. Now, I was in the dark. Looking out. If he comes across the parking lot, I will see him. I stared at the walkway leading to room 9. Waiting for a shadow. Waiting for the plastic mask. "5 minutes passed. Then 10. He didn't come out. I checked camera 4. The external camera covering the walkway. Nothing. No movement. Did he run away into the woods? Did he escape? No. His car is still there. The black Lincoln is parked right in front. He didn't leave, but he isn't in room 9 anymore. If he walked out the front door, I would have seen him. So where is he? Then I remembered the smell. The damp, earthy smell on his money. I heard a sound, not from outside, from inside the office. It was faint, like a rat scurrying inside the walls. Scritch, scratch. It was coming from behind the file cabinets. I turned my flashlight towards the back wall. The Paradise Motel was built in the 70s. Miller always bragged about the maintenance tunnels that ran behind the rooms so plumbers could fix pipes without disturbing guests. A tunnel, connecting every room, connecting room 9 to the office. There is a door back there. A small utility door hidden behind a calendar. I always thought it was a closet. I watched in horror as the calendar moved. The doorknob turned. Slowly. Deliberately. I backed away, pressing my back against the bulletproof glass. The lock on that door is flimsy. A simple latch. I am locked in a bulletproof cage. But I locked myself in with the tunnel entrance. The glass isn't protecting me. It's trapping me. The door clicked open. The office was dark, but I could see the silhouette stepping out of the utility closet. He was still wearing the plastic apron. It was slick with something dark. He was holding the bone saw. He didn't rush. He stood up straight and cracked his neck. Crack. "Hello, Alex," he whispered. He was 10 feet away. I held up my scissors. They looked like a toy compared to his saw. "Stay back," I screamed. He laughed. "Or what? You'll scratch me? I take people apart for a living. Boy." He didn't attack immediately. He reached to the wall and pulled the master breaker for the office. The neon light outside died. The computer screen died. We were plunged into total darkness. I couldn't see him, but I could hear him moving. Moving fast now. The heavy boots stomping towards me. I swung the scissors blindly in the dark. I hit something soft. He grunted. Then a heavy hand grabbed my throat and slammed me against the glass. His hands were like steel clamps on my throat. I couldn't breathe. My vision was swimming with black spots. I could smell the chemicals on his apron. I still had the scissors in my hand. I'm a med student. I know where the arteries are. I didn't aim for the chest. The bone saw blocked that. I aimed for the brachial artery. Under the armpit, I stabbed upward. Hard. Squelch. Warm liquid sprayed onto my face. Smith roared, not in pain, but in surprise. His grip loosened just enough. I kicked him in the knee and scrambled away. I lunged for the front door of the booth. But Smith was huge. He swung the bone saw blindly in the dark. It sparked against the metal doorframe, blocking my exit to the parking lot. If I tried to pass him, he would cut me in half. I had only one option. The utility door, the one he came from. It led into the walls. It was suicide, running into his territory. But I didn't have a choice. I dove through the small opening into the darkness of the maintenance tunnel. I stumbled into the corridor. It wasn't a closet. It was a long, narrow hallway running the entire length of the motel. It smelled of rot, wet wood, and rat droppings. Pipes hissed overhead. Exposed wiring hung like vines. The floor was plywood, creaking with every step. I could hear Smith behind me. He was recovering. He was coming. But I stopped, because to my left, running all along the wall, were glass panels. Dozens of them. They were the backs of the mirrors. It was like walking through a gallery of secrets. Each panel was a window into a different room. Room 1. Dark. Just the glow of a phone. Room 3. An old man crying on the edge of the bed. Room 5. The couple I saw earlier. Still sleeping. From this side, the mirrors looked like windows. I could see them. They couldn't see me. I realized Miller didn't just use cameras. He walked back here. There was a stool placed in front of room 5. And a box of tissues. He sat here, just inches away from his guests. Watching, listening. I kept running down the tunnel. Midway down, the hallway widened. This wasn't just a maintenance path. It was an office. There was a desk, a filing cabinet, and a wall of monitors. This was Miller's real command center. But it wasn't just Miller's things. There was a surgical tray, a sterilizer unit, and a map of the human body taped to the wall, with prices written in red marker next to the organs. Kidney, $15. Cornea, $5. Heart, special order. Miller wasn't just watching, he was shopping. I knocked over a box on the desk. Hundreds of plastic cards spilled onto the floor. Driver's licenses, student IDs, passports. From Florida, from Ohio, from Texas. Different faces, different ages, but mostly young runaways or drifters. People nobody would miss immediately. Miller's rule: we don't ask guests for ID. Because he didn't need to ask. He took them after they were dead. These were trophies. Or maybe inventory records. Alex. Smith's voice echoed down the tunnel. He wasn't running. He was walking. He was dragging the bone saw along the pipes. Clang, clang, clang. You are damaging the merchandise. Alex. Stress ruins the meat. He was close. Maybe 20 feet back. I scrambled over the spilled IDs. I had to keep moving. The tunnel only went one way. Toward the end of the building. Toward the woods. Toward room 9. I reached the end of the tunnel. There was a ladder leading up to a trapdoor in the ceiling. Roof access? I climbed it and pushed. Locked. I looked down. There was another panel on the wall. The back of the mirror for room 9. But this one was different. It had a latch. It was a door. Smith used this to enter the room without using the front door. I could hear Smith's heavy breathing right behind me. I had no choice. I unlatched the mirror door and fell through. I tumbled onto the plastic-covered floor of room 9. The smell of bleach and copper was overwhelming here. I stood up, slipping on the plastic. The woman was right there on the table. Her eyes were wide open, staring at me. Terror. Pure terror. She couldn't move her head, but her eyes begged me. "Help me," she mouthed silently. The mirror on the wall, the one I just fell through, swung shut behind me. But it didn't lock. Smith was on the other side. I looked around for a weapon. My scissors were lost in the struggle. The front door? Triple locked. I didn't have the key. I looked at the surgical tray next to the woman. Scalpels, saws, mallets. I grabbed the heavy bone mallet. It felt solid in my hand. The mirror door creaked open. Smith stepped into the room. He filled the frame. He was bleeding from his armpit, staining his white suit red. He looked at me. Then he looked at the woman. "You broke the rules, Alex," he sighed. "Now I have to clean up 2 messes." Smith didn't rush. He walked towards me, stepping over the spilled tools. He looked at the mallet in my hand like it was a joke. "You think holding a hammer makes you a killer, Alex?" He wiped the blood from his armpit and smeared it on his mask. "I dissect people for a living. I know exactly how much force it takes to break a bone. Do you?" I backed up until my legs hit the surgical table. The woman was whimpering softly. "I don't want to kill you," I said, my voice cracking. "That's the difference between us." Smith said, "I do." He lunged. Fast. Faster than a man his size should move. I swung the mallet blindly. It missed his head but hit his shoulder. Hard. I felt the vibration rattle up my arm. Smith grunted and stumbled sideways. But he didn't fall. He grabbed my wrist. His grip was crushing. He twisted my arm. I screamed and dropped the mallet. It clattered onto the plastic floor. He shoved me backward. I flew across the room and crashed into the TV stand. The room spun. Smith picked up the mallet. Now he had the weapon. I scrambled to my feet. He swung at me. I ducked. The hammer smashed into the wall, shattering the plaster. I tackled him around the waist. We crashed into the surgical table. It flipped over. The paralyzed woman slid off the table. She hit the floor hard, tangled in the plastic sheets and surgical drapes. She couldn't protect herself. She just lay there, eyes wide, watching two men fight to the death above her. I was losing. He was too strong. I rolled away and my hand hit a bottle on the floor. Ethanol, 90%. Industrial cleaner. Smith stood over me, raising the mallet for the killing blow. I uncapped the bottle and splashed it into his face. Right into his eyes behind the mask. Wait, no mask. It had cracked in the fight. The liquid got in. He screamed and clawed at his eyes. I looked around. A Bunsen burner on the fallen tray. It was still lit, a tiny blue flame. I kicked the bottle towards the flame. The alcohol trail caught fire. Whoosh! A wall of fire erupted between me and him. The plastic sheeting on the walls started to melt and curl. The room was filling with toxic black smoke. Smith was staggering back, blinded for a moment. This was my chance. I couldn't open the front door, too many locks. I grabbed the heavy desk chair. I smashed it against the front window. Once, the glass cracked. Twice, it shattered. Rain and cold air rushed into the burning room. Come on. I grabbed the woman by her arms. She was dead weight. I dragged her across the wet plastic towards the broken window. I pushed her through the window frame first. She tumbled onto the wet concrete outside. I climbed out after her, cutting my hands on the glass shards. We fell onto the pavement. The rain felt like ice after the heat of the fire. I coughed, trying to clear the smoke from my lungs. We had to move, I whispered to her. I looked back at room 9. Flames were licking the ceiling now. But through the smoke, I saw a shape moving. He wasn't burning. He was coming. I dragged the woman towards the woods. Suddenly, a truck pulled into the parking lot. High beams on. It was Miller's truck. He came back. Maybe he saw the fire. Help! I screamed, waving my arms. Miller, help us. For a second, I thought we were saved. Miller stopped the truck. He got out. He was holding his shotgun. But he didn't aim at the burning room. He aimed at me. I told you. Alex! He yelled over the rain. I told you to follow the rules. I froze. Behind me, Smith climbed out of the burning window. His white suit was black with soot. His face was red and blistered from the alcohol. He was holding the bone saw. In front of me, Miller with a shotgun. Behind me, Smith with a saw. I looked at the woman. She was crying silently. Raindrops mixing with tears. I can't save us both. I can't fight them both. There was only one way out. The woods. The dark, dense forest behind the motel. Miller fired. The buckshot tore up the asphalt inches from my foot. "Run!" I screamed at the woman. Then I remembered. She can't run. If I try to drag her, we both die. If I run, she dies. I looked into her eyes one last time. She blinked. Once. Slowly. It looked like forgiveness. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I let go of her arm. And I sprinted towards the tree line. I hit the tree line just as Miller fired again. Bark exploded off a pine tree next to my head. I plunged into the darkness. Branches whipped my face. Mud sucked at my shoes. I didn't look back, but I could hear them. I heard Smith screaming in rage. And I heard Miller shouting commands. "Get the dogs! Bring the truck around." They weren't letting me go. The hunt had just moved location. I ran until my lungs burned. The woods were thick. Thorns tore at my clothes. Behind me, the barking started. Dobermans. I've seen them in Miller's truck before. They were fast. Faster than me. I couldn't outrun them. I had to outsmart them. But how do you trick a nose that can smell fear? The rain was my only friend. It was washing away my scent. I hoped it was enough. I slipped down an embankment and landed face first in the mud. It was thick, sticky. I wiped it off my face. Even in the moonlight, I could see the color. Red. This was the red clay I saw on Smith's shoes. I wasn't just running blindly. I was running towards his place. The place where he goes at night. The ground here was uneven, lumpy, like it had been dug up and filled back in, over and over again. I tried to stand up, but my foot sank into the earth. It hit something hard. I reached down to pull myself free. My hand grabbed something smooth. Curved. I pulled it out of the mud. It was a femur bone. Clean. Sawed off at both ends. I dropped it and scrambled back. This wasn't a forest. It was a landfill. But they didn't bury trash here. They buried the pieces they didn't sell. I was standing on top of the missing people from the ID box. The flashlights were sweeping the trees above me. "I smell him," Miller yelled. The dogs were barking at the top of the embankment. I couldn't run. They would see me. I looked at the pit of mud and bones next to me. It was a swamp of death. It was the only way to hide my scent. I took a deep breath. And I slid silently into the pit. I buried myself in the red clay. Under the water. Under the remains. Leaving only my nose above the surface. The mud was cold. It smelled of copper and rot. A dog ran right past my head. I could hear its claws clicking on a ribcage nearby. Then Miller's boots. Heavy. He stopped right at the edge of the pit. His flashlight beams swept over the water. I closed my eyes. If he looks closely, he will see a face in the mud. Nothing here. Miller grunted. The rain washed the track. Go north. They moved on. I waited until the barking faded before I dared to breathe. I climbed out of the pit, shivering uncontrollably. I moved deeper into the woods, away from Miller. A few hundred yards later, I bumped into something metal. It wasn't a fence. It was a bumper. A car. A Honda Civic, covered in moss and vines. Next to it, a Ford truck, rusting away. Then another. And another. A graveyard of cars. This is where the guests went. They didn't check out. Their cars didn't leave. Miller just drove them back here and let the forest eat them. I wiped the grime off the window of the Civic. Inside, there was a child's car seat in the back. A stuffed bear on the dashboard. It wasn't just runaways. It was families. These people. They stopped for a night of rest. And they ended up as parts in a cooler. Rage began to replace my fear. This wasn't just a crime. It was an industry. And I had been the receptionist for a factory of death. Nice collection, isn't it? The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Smith. He wasn't with Miller. He broke off. He knew I would come here. They are my vintage models. Smith shouted from the darkness. He was taunting me, hunting me for sport. You can hide in a trunk if you want. Alex, I have plenty of room. I ducked behind a rusted van. He didn't have a gun. He liked his hands. He liked his tools. That gave me a chance. I needed a weapon. I tried the door of the van. Locked. I tried the truck next to it. It creaked open. I felt under the seat. Nothing. I checked the back. Old fast food wrappers. Then, my hand hit cold steel under the passenger seat. A tire iron. Heavy. Rusted. But solid. I gripped it tight. It wasn't a bone saw. But it could break a skull. I saw him. Smith was walking between the rows of cars. He had ditched the hazmat suit. He was in his shirt sleeves, soaked in rain and blood. He was holding a long knife now. He looked relaxed, like he was shopping for a used car. He passed my truck. He didn't see me crouching in the cab. I waited. I let him take 2 more steps. Then I kicked the door open. I kicked the door with both feet. It swung open violently. The heavy rusted steel slammed into Smith's side. He didn't see it coming. The impact threw him sideways. He crashed into the hood of the Honda. His knife flew out of his hand, disappearing into the tall grass. He doubled over, clutching his ribs. I heard them crack, but he didn't stay down. He growled like an animal and lunged at me with his bare hands. He tackled me into the mud. His hands went for my throat again. He was stronger, but he was hurt. I swung the tire iron. The first hit struck his shoulder. He flinched but didn't let go. My vision blurred. Die! I screamed. I swung again. Harder. Desperate. The iron bar connected with the side of his head. Crack. It was a sickening sound. Like dropping a melon on concrete. His grip instantly loosened. His eyes rolled back. Smith collapsed on top of me. Dead weight. I pushed him off. He rolled into a puddle. Face up. The rain washed the blood from his face. Without the mask. Without the smug expression. He just looked like a middle-aged man. A dead man in a cheap suit. I scrambled backward, crab walking through the mud until my back hit a tire. I dropped the tire iron. My hands were shaking uncontrollably. I killed him. I actually killed him, but the nightmare wasn't over. A beam of light cut through the darkness, blinding me. Down. Stay, a voice commanded. The dogs stopped barking, but they were growling, straining against their leashes. Miller stepped into the clearing. He saw Smith's body in the mud. He didn't look sad. He looked annoyed. Good help is hard to find. Miller spat. He aimed the shotgun at my chest. You're a messy employee, Alex. Very messy. He was 20 feet away. I couldn't reach the tire iron. I was defenseless. Miller's finger tightened on the trigger. I closed my eyes, waiting for the flash, but then, a sound cut through the forest. WHEOOP, WHEOOP. Sirens. Not one. Many. Miller froze. He looked back towards the motel. Through the trees, the sky was glowing orange. The fire I started in room 9, it had spread. It must have engulfed the whole building. A fire that big on the highway attracts attention. Trucks stop. People call 911. Police. A voice echoed from a megaphone far away. Is anyone in there? Miller lowered the gun. He looked at me, then at the fire, then at the dead body of Smith. If the cops were here, they would find the tunnel. They would find the ID box. They would find the cars. It was over. Self-preservation kicked in. The arrogance vanished from his face, replaced by pathetic fear. He didn't shoot me. A gunshot would lead the police right to him. Don't think this is over. Kid, he hissed. He dropped the dog leashes. He turned and ran deeper into the woods, abandoning his dogs, abandoning his empire. The dogs, confused and scared by the fire, ran off after Miller. I was alone with the corpse. I tried to shout, but my voice was gone. I grabbed the tire iron and banged it against the hood of the Honda. Clang, clang, clang. 2 minutes later, flashlights blinded me. Police. Drop the weapon. I dropped the iron and raised my hands. I have never been so happy to see a uniform. They found me, covered in mud and blood, shaking next to a dead serial killer. As they walked me out of the woods, I saw the ambulance. They were loading a stretcher. It was the woman. She was wrapped in a thermal blanket. She was still paralyzed, but her eyes were open. She saw me. She couldn't smile, but she blinked. 2 fast blinks. Thank you. I collapsed onto the bumper of a police cruiser. The adrenaline finally ran out. I watched the Paradise Motel burn to the ground. The P and S were finally gone. Everything was ash. The investigation took months. They found the tunnel. They found the cameras. They dug up 42 bodies in the woods. And 15 cars. Smith was identified as a former surgeon who lost his license for malpractice. A ghost in the underworld. But Miller. They found his dogs wandering the highway 3 days later. But they never found Miller. The police think he died in the woods. Exposure. Or bears. But I know better. I dropped out of med school. I couldn't look at a scalpel anymore without shaking. I work in a library now. Day shift. Only day shift. I thought it was over. But last week, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single dollar bill. Old, crumpled, damp, and written on George Washington's face in red ink was a message. Good help is hard to find. He is still out there. Why am I telling you this story? Because I know where you are. Maybe you are listening to this at home, safe in your bed, but maybe, just maybe, you are traveling. Maybe you are tired. You pulled off the highway because your eyes were heavy. You found a cheap motel. Just for one night. You said, you checked in. You didn't look at the clerk. You just took the key. And now you are lying on a bed that 1,000 strangers have slept on. Do me a favor. Stand up. Walk to the mirror in your room. It looks normal, doesn't it? Just a piece of glass. Now, put your fingernail against it. Look at the reflection. Is there a tiny gap between your nail and the image? If yes, good. Go back to sleep. But if your fingernail touches the reflection directly, if they meet tip to tip, get out. Don't pack your bags. Don't call the front desk. Just leave. Because that's not a mirror. That's a window. But Miller was old-fashioned. He liked mirrors. The new owners, they liked technology. Look at the smoke detector above your bed. Does it blink? Look at the alarm clock facing the shower. Look at the USB charger plugged into the wall. Camera lenses are smaller than a pinhead now. They don't need a tunnel behind the wall. They stream directly to the cloud. To a server in a basement somewhere. Or to a website where people pay to watch you sleep. And listen to the walls. Motels are built cheaply. Thin dry wall. But have you noticed that the bathroom seems a little smaller than it should be? Or that the closet is unusually shallow? That's called dead space. Architects leave it for pipes. But in the Paradise Motel, we called it the viewing gallery. If you hear a creak in the wall, it's not the building settling. It's someone shifting their weight because their legs are tired from standing and watching you for an hour. I still look for Miller. Every day, I look at the faces of motel owners, gas station attendants, janitors. He could be anyone. He blends in. He likes places where people are transient, where nobody asks questions. If you meet an old man with a ring of 100 keys, if he smells like menthol cigarettes and Old Spice, and if he offers you a discount for paying in cash, don't take the room. Do you feel it? That prickle on the back of your neck? Evolution gave us that feeling for a reason. It's a warning system. It means eyes are on you. Turn down the volume of this video. Listen, can you hear breathing that isn't yours? Is the door to your room actually locked? Did you check the deadbolt? Or did you just assume it was safe because you have a key? And there is one more place. The most classic hiding spot. We laugh about monsters under the bed. But in room 9, Smith didn't always come through the wall. Sometimes, he waited, under the frame, lying on his back for hours, waiting for the guest to fall asleep, waiting for the hand to dangle off the edge of the mattress. Have you checked under your bed tonight? If you hear a noise under there, don't look. If you look, you acknowledge them. If you look, you are part of the game. Just lie still. Pretend you are asleep. Maybe they will leave. Maybe they are just watching tonight. Or maybe they are waiting for you to turn off the light. I have to go now. My shift is starting at the library. But remember the rules. Check the mirror. Check the vent. Check the lock. And never, ever pay in cash. Because somewhere, in a room just like yours, a camera light just turned on. Pause, smile. You're on broadcast. Good night, room 9.